Hi, everybody. Steve Biederman. We are now in the third season of Lessons I've Learned. And when we started it, it was lessons I've learned in no particular order. Uh, and remember, that's how I see life, right? Life just happens. It's not constructed, it's not conducted. We try from time to time to do that, but at the end of the day, life happens and lessons I've learned happen. And sometimes we get those lessons in really areas where we don't expect to, at times that only later after an event do we realize have happened. So that's how I've learned through my career. And ultimately the outcome of that has been great. I mean, I like where I sit today. I feel pretty darn good about it. Um, Let me share with you today's topic and this season's topic. And we've named this Leadership Through Failure. Uh, Interestingly, I was just now, a couple minutes ago, speaking with my producer, Anda, about this. And she had mentioned that many people today uh, express the idea that failure doesn't exist, that it's really just one of the pieces in the process, and that over time, it may be a step, but it isn't the outcome. So my reaction to that was this: a car crash is still a car crash. An accident is still an accident. And I think what is happening is oftentimes we gloss over that step in it. The accident is just the accident versus the outcome, which I learned a lot from it. I'm now better because of it. Yes, that happened. And without that happening, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I think that's amazing and that's great. But nonetheless, we face very tough situations in management, in leadership, in our organization, certainly in our life. And that's what I really want to talk about today. Look, I could regale you with stories of that would excite you and thrill you about my failures, about the oh my God moments that I have faced. And I'm sure I'll throw some of those in from time to time. But in my opinion, to lay out what this season is going to be, it is really with what happens within the context of that moment, in that critical moment where something didn't work out the way you'd intended it to do. Something hits you square in the face, unpredictable, unadvisable. And what do you do in that moment then, before you learn from it, before you gain, before you have perspective? And you can look back. What do you do with that? Uh, we all have different ways to approach critical moments. Some of us get quieter and more thoughtful. Some of us, things slow down and we see things more clearly than ever in that critical moment. And some of us, actually, it all speeds up and we get panicked and we don't know how to react. But within the range and context of all of those emotions, we have, as a leader, to react in the moment because we have projects, events, people depending on us to make the next right decision and react in a way that defines it. It's really the definition, right, of leadership, which is amongst everything else on a good day, how do we react on a bad day? How do we react now? When I was younger, I always felt very capable of managing to an outcome, getting to where I needed to go. And I would say, well, there's always these times, a few times a year where I fail, I lose my temper, I grab my glasses and throw them across a room, I get angry or yell or overly critical of somebody or something. And I used to sort of minimize that. And I began to realize as life progressed that actually those were the moments that defined my leadership, not the outcome, but what do I do in those moments? Because, you walk out of your office and you're angry and you're yelling and you throw your glasses across a room or say terrible things, and it can take forever or a year or months or weeks to get over that, meaning the people around you and the trust they lose from you that impact how they now behave. And leadership, if anything, is how you can instill a method and an approach and a role model of how to react within times of difficulty. So don't do what I did when I was younger and minimize those critical moments. So look, what do we do in a moment? Listen, let me come up with a critical moment and what to do about it. All right. Some years ago, I was selling my company and I was looking hard and I was looking with private equity firms and various other situations to sell my company. And in doing that, uh, I had an idea of what I wanted to earn from it, how I wanted it to come out, what I expected my role to be. And I will tell you, every single person I talked to about it on the other side of the equation didn't have the same idea that I did. So now I'm facing a moment where, in my deepest reality, I needed to sell that company. At the same time, everybody I'm speaking to is telling me no. So there was a moment of true failure in there. And that failure was my expectations and approach and valuation of what I owned and what I would do with it were wrong. It wasn't that they were right, and it wasn't in the moment that I was learning too much. I was disappointed and I was confused. But I made a decision in the moment that the only thing I could do was determine what exactly was my driver. Was it that I wanted to sell the company? Was it that I wanted an outcome after I sold the company or something else? And I decided at that time the single driver that I came up with in the middle of many nights when I couldn't sleep and I was making decisions was I needed to sell the company. I didn't need to exit the company, and that was a part of my hope, but I needed to sell it. So I paused and examined the single point of what made things me more aware of the things I needed to do. And the single point in this case was sell the company. So I understood that I couldn't necessarily plan the outcome. So, because that's what I had been facing. So I made another decision to say, if what I want to do is sell the company, and I understand that I may or may not get what I pre-planned to get in terms of outcome, then go through the process. And the process was find the next company, find the next situation, and in a crazy way, take all of that activity, throw it against the wall, see what sticks. And what I often say to people is, look, to get anywhere, you have to do the work. And the work that went with selling the company was talk to the next PE firm, talk to the next competitor that may have an interest, but keep working and doing what I intended to do to find the potential for where I wanted to go. And as I continued to do it, I began to listen better. And when I listened better, I began to hear alternative approaches to an outcome and began to see that if I just go into something non-judgmental and I focus on the single point of what is important to me, then at the end of it, I may get something that I never anticipated getting. And look, isn't that what we talk about when we talk about leadership through failure? Isn't it what we talk about when, as I said earlier, I was told that some people say there is no failure. It's just another step in the path. Isn't it true that if I go into anything and I don't judge it, but I just do the work, make the decision about what the single most important driver is and why I'm doing it, recognize that I have a responsibility to maintain a position of leadership around with those around me, then in fact, I may get to an outcome totally unexpected and greater than the sum of whatever I would have anticipated at that moment. But it takes those things, it takes those critical decisions. And remember this, as a leader, you have to maintain your persona in the role that you're playing. You know, leadership comes in different fashions, and many of us in our humbleness want to say, look, I'm not a leader, I just do my thing. It's up to other people to determine if I'm a leader. And that is true that other people get to choose whether you're a leader, but you also get to choose. And you get to choose that if you are seeing yourself as a leader, if that's a position at the table that you want to sit, that there are certain characteristics that must go along with that, that are skill sets, that are behaviors that you should stick to. And I don't know of many great leaders. There are some, but I don't know of many great leaders that ignored how they came across to other people and recognized the responsibility they had with other people. So look, these are short and to the point lessons. Every 2 weeks, we're going to continue to go through lessons I've learned through failure. We're going to begin to bring in AI into the discussion, because how a leader reacts to AI within the context of their organization, their people, their direction, their strategies it's really critical. Because I have a fear, and my fear is that leaders will forget their leaders in that critical moment and just blame everything that fails on the tool, the AI. But remember, that's just a tool, okay? At the end of the day, leadership comes from within you, within decisions you make, characteristics you show, and most important, they come with how you react to the moment you didn't anticipate, what I call the moment of failure. So with that, we're going to go to 2 weeks from now. I look forward to seeing you. Come on, keep joining this. I love that I get to talk to you this way. You all take care. Bye-bye.